There's a lot going on in the Minnesota legislature this week. First, a special election tomorrow will determine if one party controls the House or there is a tie. Lawmakers will start wrestling with the updated budget forecast this week. Both will likely change the dynamic of this legislative session moving forward. NPR Capitol reporter Peter Cox joins us with the lay of the land for the week in St. Paul. Hey, Peter.
Morning, Kathy.
Well, the real work starts now that lawmakers have that new forecast.
Yeah, so now lawmakers know the boundaries of what they'll have to abide with when setting this next two-year budget. Late last week, there was an important update on the state's financial picture, and things are a little tighter than they were just 4 months ago. The big factor for this session is how much money the legislature has for this budget, and that number is down to $456 million. Also, there's the off-in-the-distance deficit, and that's now forecast to be $6 billion, which means a good deal of belt-tightening might be in store now to head that off.
However, of course, lawmakers have some key details that are a little cloudy at this point in terms of what the federal government might do, right?
Yeah, that's right, Kathy. Looming over all of this is what the federal government will do. There's possible cuts to Medicaid, education, and other funding that the state depends on when setting its budgets. And it's in the billions of dollars and could cause major changes for lawmakers to deal with. After the forecast came out, lawmakers all said they'll be searching for savings, but how lawmakers do that will likely be a fraught debate.
I'm wondering, we have, of course, the budget. We also have the special election tomorrow that is going to probably change the dynamic in the House. Let's talk about that a bit.
Yeah, so we should learn this week who will be the 134th member of the House. This entire session, from the weeks-long Democratic boycott in January and early February to the one-member advantage House Republicans have had over this last month, that's all really been affected by this open seat. So we have DFL candidate David Gottfried and GOP candidate Paul Wickstrom facing off for the House 40B seat. That covers parts of Roseville and Shoreview, and it's an area that tends to back Democrats. So if Gottfried wins, it really puts the House into this 67 to 67 tie.
And whoever wins, will they be seated right away?
So it's going to take several days to certify the result and satisfy other requirements, so possibly not until next week. But if that tied House materializes, committees would have shared leadership. That means bills would have to have bipartisan support moving forward to have a chance. Now, if Wickstrom wins, it would give Republicans 68 members, which is the number needed to pass bills. That would give the GOP a much stronger hand through the rest of the session. Either way, it's going to dramatically change House business moving forward.
Speaking of business, what's on the agenda this week?
So this afternoon, the House will debate a bill dealing with reports from the Office of the Legislative Auditor. Basically, it would assess whether agencies have addressed findings and recommendations made by the auditor in the last 5 years. And it would also require committee hearings on the auditor's report findings to look at whether they've solved those recommendations and findings before they approve money to that entity. Now, the House bill has 32 authors, but in that case, it's all Republicans. There's a companion bill in the Senate that has bipartisan support. Now, also on the calendar, we're watching a few Republican-backed bills in House committee this week that bolster immigration reporting standards for both jails and prisons and law enforcement entities. That's an effort to supersede any local policies on reporting immigration status. And in the Senate, we're also watching several bills in front of committees dealing with health care and emergency policy.
All right. Peter Cox, have a good week.
You too.
Where a woman has filed a class action lawsuit against a factory that produces metal parts near her home. The suit says the Northern Iron Metal Foundry is releasing pollution that's harming health and property values in that area. The company that owns the foundry is also in a legal battle with the state of Minnesota over its permit. Reporter Andrew Hazard has been following the situation for Sahan Journal, and he joins me now on the line. Thanks for joining us again, Andrew.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, really always appreciate your work. Even before this lawsuit, you were reporting on some of the concerns from the people in the area. Tell me a little bit about the backstory. What have people been complaining of?
So people who live near this foundry, which this is right off Phelan Boulevard near Arcade Street. So there's a lot of residential housing right there next cheek and jowl to this foundry. And people have been complaining about the quality of the air and noticeable visible pollution, sediment, dust that they have been finding on their homes, on parked vehicles nearby here. I have interviewed people who have complained about serious, health concerns that they are starting to attribute more and more to this foundry due to things like, oh, my kids, developed allergies after we moved here. There's dust everywhere. I'm constantly having to clean my windows. Feeling dirty often and feeling impacted negatively by what's coming